business while under the influence of crack or fucking meth. And so like he was the guy that like he would come home at 2:33 in the morning, and when he was awake, the whole fucking house was awake, and everyone was gonna wake up to sit on the sofa to watch him and his biker buddies party. So authoritative in that approach.
I see what you're saying. Damn, I thought I had a problem with authority. I just have an Irish Catholic father who spanked my hiney. And I'm like, dude, I don't want to hear
That's a wet dream for me, you cocksucker. Fuck off.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, I have a fucking authority problem. Mine must be nothing, because I think that is real. The link to authority problems is just your relationship with your dad.
And my mother's go-to my whole life as a child growing up, she's like, when I just couldn't figure out fuck about shit, she's like, we should put you in the Marines. Like, if you don't, what do you think I want a fucking muscle-jacked fuck waking me up at 4 a.m. to 5,000 push-ups? You can fuck off.
Yeah, that would spaz you. I have one of my moms, someone like my mom knows, got dishonorably discharged. From what I heard of just waking up and being like, get the fuck away from me. And they're like, dude, you're out of here.
Dude, that approach does not work with me.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so.
Well, because I already am wired with like, if it doesn't make sense to me, it's wrong.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like right out of the gate, I have a lot of shit going against me. Because a lot of things don't make sense to me. So I walk around like wrong, could do better, should do better, blah.
Yeah.
So it's what I've learned in life for me is that it's all about approach, right? And today it's much easier for me coming from a position of simply understanding as opposed to being understood.
Yeah.
So like I just accept you for where you're at, the jarhead for where he or she's at, and just it's cool.
Yeah, that was something that blew my mind during COVID, and I like mentioned this before, but I still can't get over it. Like I didn't realize how much I did this, but like, especially during so before COVID, I didn't know that I was really doing this, but I'd go through a supermarket and like every person I saw, it would just be this like weird invisible battle in my head where I'd be like, this fucking guy, fucking pussy, jerk off. Then I would see a lady and like, fucking chick's not even hot. Is she looking at me? No, she's not, fucking bitch. And like, and you're doing this like crazy maniacal thing in your head. And then COVID, it came to a fever pitch because there was like the mask versus no mask. And then it was like, it was just like, it just all came to a head where I was like, dude, why am I this stressed while taking a walk? And I started doing a thing where like, when I would be out at a grocery store, I would really focus on not having like a silent battle against people and instead just like wishing strangers well. And like you were saying, exuding that, whatever that energy is. Dude, I felt so much more comfortable in public after that. Yeah. Which was like, it was like a revelation for me.
I love being right-sized by humanity. It just happened to me recently, and I'm really good at like, again, I really have dove into this whole spiritual aspect of my reality and believing.
When you say you're right side, sorry, what do you mean?
Like, my ego will allow me to create these delusional narratives that aren't even fucking real. And then when I'm proved wrong, when I really believe I'm right, I'm like, dude, I am a fucking asshole. And it just happened. You're a Philly guy, right? You'll relate to this story. I had a crazy weekend. I was in New York, all kinds of stuff going on. I drive back and I have like these weekly dinners at this place in Fishtown Sunday nights. And Fishtown's kind of oversaturated with like a lot of hipsters.
Sure.
And in my mind, hipsters are just kind of tattooed, bearded, angry people for no fucking reason. It's not like they lack resources or whatever.
Yeah.
I create this narrative. So I had a long weekend and I'm trying to park under the L to go to this restaurant I go to, and there's this ice cream truck, and it's fucking just submerged with hipsters getting ice cream. And that's cool, right?
Yeah.
But as I'm doing this 3-point turn, someone I've actually like, oh, he's fucking pissed, dude. He's got a problem. So now I haven't even seen the person. I'm ready. And I'm like the most fucking passive aggressive. Like I cringe at the thought of confrontation, but if you caught me on the right time, I'm like, it's fucking on.
Yeah, let's go.
So as I'm parking, I see him, and it's a hipster with tattoos and a beard who I already have created an issue with, but I don't even know this person.
Yeah.
And he locks eyes with me as I'm hoping he would so we can fucking get to it.
Yeah.
And he goes, oh shit, you're so-and-so. And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, dude, I fucking love your work, man. And he had a camera in his hand, and he was taking portraits and stills. He's like, can I get a photo of you? He said, what I do. And I'm like, dude, fuck yes and fuck me, right? Because I walk around just like at times.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean by really enjoying being right-sized. Because I have a job sometimes that consists of knowing everything, right? And that places me in a lot of positions that I don't really like to enjoy.
Yeah. When you say you have a job, what do you mean?
Because like, for so long when I was caught up in addiction, right? When logical people who knew how to stay sober would suggest to me what I might want to do in order to save my life, I'd suggest why they should fuck off.
Yeah.
Because I knew. I knew. I was too smart for my own goddamn good. Right. And then I got to this place where the pain became so unbearable. I was able to look back and recognize that like every common denominator in every one of my problems was me.
Yeah.
And maybe if I just get the fuck out of my way, I might stand a chance of living a better life. And what I do know is that I don't know. Because when I think that I know, there's no open mind. I am not teachable, and I'm definitely not willing to try anything that I don't agree with.
Yeah.
Which just sets me up for a fucking, all these terrible experiences.
Yeah, take me back through that. So what was like, how did you, what's your story? Like, how did you get in that? Obviously you're saying like, family or, home life, not great. And then like eventually to like, gaining a ton of notoriety. Like what was that like for you going from like the beginning to like the thick of all that stuff?
Well, it's a very interesting narrative and storyline, I believe. Because I come from Baltimore and you're obviously from Pennsylvania, so there's a lot of similarities at this table, but coming from that home life of a pretty chaotic household and a father who was pretty out of his fucking mind, I believe I was genetically predisposed to addiction or alcoholism, and that paired with the atmosphere I was brought up in, it just made sense.
Yeah.
But throughout that journey, I was blessed with a skateboard, and I fell in love with skateboarding, and another guy from Baltimore named Bucky Lasik.
Yeah.
Who
I played him on Tony Hawk for sure.
He's my fucking, he's the man. He's the legend. Really? And he was from Baltimore, and he kind of recognized the talents I possessed. So he took me under his wing and got me sponsored by PAL. And that's where the skateboarding world took off. But then we would go to Cheapskates in Pennsylvania, the skate park.
Was it Boards and Blades or what?
Boards and Blades was later on, and that was right off Route 1 right there.
I was a young boy at Boards and Blades, and you would see like Bam and Squab would come through, and I'd be like, oh,
we filmed like some of the CKY shit there.
Yeah.
Like the stunts and stuff.
Yeah.
Naked Dave doing an ollie over the pyramid, and then Bam, I think, kicking him or punching him or something like that.
Yeah, that was always legendary. You guys would come, we were like 12, we'd be like, oh, dude, fuck.
Yeah.
Like trying to do one heel flip, like, this fucking rules, dude. I'm going to get sponsored.
It's it. Pro board coming.
Oh,
as soon as I get this heel flip.
Yeah, they're coming. Spitfire's coming for me, dude. Once I get that.
Need a manager at this point. Too overwhelming. But nonetheless, so I meet Bam, and then we, at that skate park called Cheapskates, which was clearly before your time. If Boards and Blades was when you started.
Yeah.
And
where was Cheapskates?
I don't know. It was in Pennsylvania, and we would drive up.
Right on.
And Bam would always be there, and he wasn't sponsored at that point. Bucky and I were, and we were instantaneously became thick as thieves. And we'd practice for this one contest every year, which was the NSAs. They'd have in Bricktown, New Jersey.
Okay.
And either he would win or I'd win. And one year I didn't show up, and he was there, and he went to Bucky, and he's like, yo, Bucky, where's Novak? And Bucky's like, I think he's on heroin. And Bam, at such a young age, was like, well, what's that? Right? And not such a young age, like 12, 13. It was like 16, 17. But
that's pretty young.
When you're consumed in like a nice, wholesome life that revolves around skateboarding and a good family, like you don't have conversations that consist of those words.
Yeah, sure.
So it was at that point that his career in skateboarding totally excelled and took off, and mine went to complete shit, and I chose to pursue a life of heroin and addiction. Yeah. Fast forward some time later, I'm really sick one day. I can't come up with any money. But at this point, I wouldn't even acknowledge a skateboarder, right? It was like, it was the equivalent of like looking at the woman you like get away, the love of your life.
Yeah.
You're like, dude, if I just did a little like, so it hurt me like that.
Yeah.
So I'd avoid skateboarding like the plague, but one day I was really sick and I couldn't come up with money. So I decided to go to the skate shop in Fells Point called Select. And I asked, when I get there to try to get some money, like, we're not going to give you money, but Bam was here yesterday with the Toy Machine team. And he asked if we ever saw you. We said no. And he said, well, if you do, give him my number. So he leaves his number. And a couple days later, I call, and it was the number to Fairman's skate shop in town.
Westchester.
Yeah. And I called Fairman's, right? Timing is everything in life. I call Fairman's. It's not even his skate. It's not his house. It's Fairman's. I'm a homeless heroin addict. I pump in some change into the fucking payphone, right? And this change is like my lifeline, right? So I got my finger on the thing. Like if it don't answer, I don't get beat for the money. So I'm like, but Dave answers. He's like, yo, he was just here. He's next door at Kuma, which is the sushi restaurant in town. He's like, hold on, I'll go get him. So he goes and gets him, comes back, and then that night I'm on a Greyhound bus from Baltimore to Westchester. And he's like, yo, come live with me. You know, you can, at this point he had done the CKYs, and then Viva La Bam had just started, and he allowed me to be a guest on the show and started to get paid by Viacom. And I could do all this shit. I just couldn't, I could have a credit card. I could live at his house rent free. I just wasn't allowed to do heroin.
Okay.
that was the stipulation.
No problem.
I was cool with like Coke and alcohol because that was like, I wouldn't steal your shit when I wanted more Coke.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So that was kind of how I like, and then throughout that process, Bam would always be like, yo, your stories are like the fun. He always loved the positions I ended up in as a direct result of my heroin addiction.
Yeah,
like letting gay men shave my asshole for rent money and fucking, you know, letting men blow me for more dope and just getting stabbed in the head with an ink pen and fucking like all this nonsense. So he's like, yo, you can live at the house. And now I'm starting to get appearances in Jackass. He's bringing me along and he kind of calls me like his walking television. But he then one night we would go to Kildare's after a rap. We'd rap for the day, cast, and the crew would go there. And humongous table of like 40 or 50 in a bar. And, and he'd like, tell this story, tell that story. And you could literally hear a pin drop. And it was then that he's like, yo, you're going to write a book. Now, I had not graduated high school at this point. I had no GED. I had nothing. I had no part of ever wanting to write a book. He's like, you're going to write a book. He gives me a notebook and a pen. And he goes, you're to carry this around all the time. He's like, I don't give a fuck if I don't even see you writing in it. You have to have it in your hand. The first time I don't see it in your hand, you're going back to Baltimore.
Damn.
So like the scales of justice were very equal there, easy to weigh out. Homeless in Baltimore, letting men blow me for heroin, or carry this fucking notebook and pen around and write my story. And still be on a TV show, drive a car, credit card, paid by Viacom, blah, blah, blah.
And you were maintaining sobriety, like relative sobriety?
No, not even close. So he would like, I never was allowed to do what I really wanted to do, which was opiates, whether it was like Percocets or heroin. That was very frowned upon, and he made it very known to everyone in Westchester and the people we worked with to not give me any. So people listened, and but nonetheless, and the second book that I wrote, Streets of Baltimore, really dives into the psychology of an addict or an alcoholic, because I knew that I'm being presented this golden ticket, right? I can become this household name, making money, I can live in this fucking mansion, drive a car, blah, blah, blah. But I know that it's only a matter of time before the rug gets pulled out from under me. Like, because I can't stop getting high. So he's cool with the coke and the alcohol and they don't really understand addiction at that point. But like inside of me, I can't wait to get back to Baltimore to fuck. So I'd tell him lies like I have to go back and get my favorite pair of jeans. And I'd fucking go back and end up there for 3 weeks.
Damn.
And just lost in Baltimore shooting dope. And so he'd kick me out. I'd go to rehab and a lot of wash, rinse, repeats of that. Later on, he then comes with this new idea. I'm going to write this book. I have no desire to write a book, but I had read a book called A Million Little Pieces by James Frey. Brilliant book. And I love the outline of that. So I'm no fool by any means. And I went and I just copied his outline and I wrote a fucking 12 chapters, pen to paper, right? No laptop, anything. And my co-author is a man named Joe Franz, who made all the CKY videos, filmed the Viva La Bams and Jackass. And he did not want that job. But Bam was like, dude, you're going to do this. Because no one wanted to work with me. I was like, I was not a good fucking employee. My behavior was rather erratic, to say the least. But he made him kind of do this. And then a year later, I'm like, I think I've finished. And Bam started reading. He's like, dude, this is really something. So then he gives it to Joe. Joe turns 12 chapters into 23. And we get a literary agent off of Bam's manager, finds me a literary agent, shops around, and it gets fucking picked up. And it does like really, really well.
What was it? This is your first book, right?
The first book, Dream Seller.
Dream Seller. That's a nice title.
Which was fucking, I mean, that's what I did for a living, right? Like I'd make people believe the unbelievable. I'd build your hopes up to like make you believe that like it was going to be different this time. Just in hopes for you to believe in me enough for me to get some cash out of you. To only apologize and just to watch, rinse, repeat. And that's kind of what my life looked like for a long time. But that's how I ended up in all these places and doing all these things. That what I didn't know then that's really rad now is that's life. It's live forward and learn backwards. And I didn't see that I was kind of being tasked with this fucked up position of addiction or alcoholism to then be later on blessed with recovery and use the very same platform that I gained notoriety from as being just this fuck up drug addict alcoholic to being this guy that's like, yo, if you want help, like I will help you. I have all these avenues to like get you out of where I once was.
Yeah, can you put that into words? I'm always kind of fascinated by that when it's like, because it is obvious. Anyone who's not on drugs, when you know someone who's on drugs, you're like, dude, if you just don't do drugs, you won't have as many problems. And they're like, I have to do them.
Sure.
It's like, what is like the thought? Is it even a thought process, or is it just like a genuine, just like urge?
At that point in time for me, I got to a place in life where any person, place, or thing that stood between me and a bag of heroin must and will go. And it was never personal. It was just business, right? Because I'm a good guy with a great heart, and I was raised by a loving mother who taught me to show kindness and compassion to humanity. but don't catch me when I'm withdrawing. You know what I mean? So it's like, so what, I own treatment centers today. I own sober living houses. I'm totally immersed in that world. And the truth of the matter is, we are amazing people that have been diagnosed with a deadly disease that makes us make terrible decisions. That's the reality of it.
Yeah.
At least my story.
Yeah. So you're saying like, the process of like, having, I guess, that urge versus like, like you said, in some way you kind of know like, yeah, this isn't going to go well.
So I remember,
but you just have to, I have to do it.
Prime example, we were kind of getting into it a little bit before we got on. I had just done a year in George W. Hill Correctional Facility, right? They let me out New Year's Eve. I'm living in Westchester, and I have an amazing fiance at the time who's now my ex because they continue to get between me and drugs. So you have to fucking go.
Yeah.
And she's moved our home while I was incarcerated. She redecorated it, really tried to love my addiction out of me. And I wanted to be done with it. I really did. That night I was released, I called up one of my buddies who rode with the Pagans, who partied with us in Westchester. And he brought over some Percocet 30s and a couple Xanax. Now, I had been sober for a year up to this point.
Yeah.
And I'm on parole. Like, I know what the deal is if I fuck up. I find myself in Ryan's pub in Westchester because I live right down the street, and I told my chick, because she'd watch me like a canine. I'm like, I just have to go up here to say hi to whatever. And I go, and I'm in the pub, and I'm sitting on the toilet, and the toilet paper dispensary is to my right, and I crush up 2 Percocet 30s and a half of Xanax, and I have it in my billfold, and I'm about to put it in my nose and sniff it, and I'm literally crying. I uncontrollably crying. I can't stop crying because I know that as soon as I do this, I'm going to begin that behavioral pattern that takes me where I don't want to go and makes me do things I don't want to do, but I can't control myself.
Yeah.
There's no room for logic at that point.
Jesus, man.
And that's kind of what my day in, day out looked like for a long time.
Yeah, that's a good explanation of it. Because I know it's not like a thing with like words. It's just kind of like you also don't. And it's like it's pretty fucking rugged, man.
And I remember that night. I'm in the bathroom. I'm doing this, and I could hear people out in Ryan. You know where Ryan's is, and they're having a good time. They're waiting for the ball to drop. They're laughing. They're fucking playing. They're cheersing, and I'm in the stall just crying uncontrollably with a fucking rolled up bill up my nose, getting ready to sniff everything I love away.
Oh.
And that's what addiction is as a whole. But it didn't start that way,
Yeah. How did you end up starting to do heroin? Because that was like a big jump from like skating.
Yeah.
Was it the pills first?
It was the fucking hallmark progression, the alcohol, the weed, stealing the herb from the dad, and then the blow, because he sold a lot of blow. And things just progressively got worse, but mine was genetic. So, I have a mother who was a nuclear physicist. I have a brother who is an attorney who works in the White House.
That's awesome.
I have a sister who works in the hospital my mother ran, but they are by a different father. I'm the only one by my father.
Got you.
He was an addict and his father was an addict.
Yeah.
So I believe I was fucked from the gate.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The thing now is that it's like, my poison has become my medicine, and it's turned out to be the biggest blessing that's ever happened in my life.
Yeah, that is the thing. I feel like addiction, it is like it's almost like a weird spiritual practice if you think about it. You just kind of rather than like meditating, you're just getting so fucking high all the time. Totally. Your life just collapses, and then now you have to really it gives people, I think, a deeper appreciation for life if they make it through. That's my
and that's the thing, right? Because here's the reality, and this is why people are so just frustrated with battling the disease of addiction. Statistics state, theoretical evidence dictates that I or anyone else that is sober are to be high or dead. Right? Like the data collected, the analytics fucking from all over these studies that are given states that the majority of people die as opposed to find sobriety.
Yeah.
And I remember getting out of my last facility, and BAM was always a constant theme throughout my life. And I stopped over and I saw him, and he's like, "What the fuck? What was different about number 13 treatment center? Why not 12 or 10 or 6 or 4 or 3? He's like, "What did you have, like a meeting with God or something?" And I didn't say it to him because it's just too much for one to grasp. But in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I kind of did.
Really? So that's what I've heard before. Wasn't that what AA was founded on? The guy Bill
and Bob
went to Carl Jung, and he was like, "Bro, either find God or you're toast."
Yeah,
in a way.
So I'm not religious. I don't particularly care for organized religion.
Sure,
but I'm insanely spiritual, and it's like, where's my spirituality if I judge your spirituality? So like acceptance is the answer to all in world.
For sure.
but I didn't understand that. See, the truth of the matter is, and this is a blanket statement that I'll make for anyone that's in addiction or in recovery, is that we didn't get here because we took the short bus to school. Quite the contrary. We end up here because we're too smart for our own fucking good. And then I land in a seat of a 12-step meeting or a treatment center that literally has the ability to save my life. And I fuck around and outthink myself right out of it.
Yeah.
Right? Because recovery is one of those weird things that works so well. People stop fucking doing it.
Yeah.
Think about it. It's such a mind fuck.
Yeah.
Right? So what I didn't know is that like the last thing I tried was the first thing that worked. Right, because I was just too smart for my own good, and I wasn't quite willing to buy into the process. It worked great for you guys, but I'm a bit different.
Yeah,
right?
That's everyone I've known.
Totally.
Like, I'm not one of those guys.
Yeah, for sure. And at the end, when I was optionless, literally, I was homeless, I was moneyless, I was friendless, I was carless, loveless. Just that was me. I had no other choice but to buy into the process. I didn't even want to do it then. I begrudgingly did it, but like, fuck it. I have the time, and no one's expecting or requesting my fucking presence, so let's run it. And the craziest thing happened is it started to work. I experienced the 12 steps, and what happened throughout the 12 steps is I had a spiritual experience. And the definition of a spiritual experience is simply a psychic change, meaning that I, Brandon Novak, today no longer look at things the way I did then.
Do you remember what kind of kicked that off exactly, or was it just kind of
pain?
Like,
pain. I had to end up in a place where the pain was so fucking unbearable. Right, like to where my back was against the wall, and I had nothing else to do to get myself out of the position that I had created for myself.
How long did that take? How long did that take of like doing heroin?
My overall resume with alcoholism and addiction was 22 years.
Okay, wow.
So, but the last 10 were really bad.
Yeah. What did that look like in terms of like you're saying like the personal pain? Was it like obviously like there's probably physical discomfort and all that stuff, but like just like alienation from everyone you've ever known? Were you like kind of like kicking yourself over like how much better things could have went? Like what was like the real primer?
All of the above. But what I didn't know then that I know now is that each one of my attempts at trying to find recovery were not failures. Despite me thinking they were, because like I would use in treatment, I'd get kicked out, I'd leave, I'd use the same day. And as any blessing happens to anyone, it happens unbeknownst to us, right? Like if I knew when and where a blessing was taking place and I was to report there to receive said blessing, I'd fuck that up, right? So like I had to be put in this place where these seeds were being planted unbeknownst to me. And then finally, on that day where the appropriate amount of pain was created, where it became so unbearable that I was finally willing to do what I had never been willing to do, which is become open-minded just long enough to pick that phone up, ask for help, and then the craziest thing ever, but fucking follow through with it. I started to see that like none of this was what I thought a failure. Like it all played its part when it was supposed to. So that finally when the opportunity met the appropriate time, an event was going to take place that was going to create this outcome unlike anything that I could wrap my feeble mind around. And I saw on my way into that last treatment center, like it's like the skies parted and I walked across the sea and everything they said made sense. And just like it hit me. And I knew that like, I get it. It makes sense now.
Yeah.
It all makes sense. And
so you knew even just heading while on the way there, you're like just something flipped.
Because they would be like, dude, I own facilities now, and my favorite thing is to run groups with my clients, and I can't get enough of that. And I'm like, who in here thinks that you're in here because of drugs and alcohol? And the majority of them raise their hands. And I'm like, you're all fucking wrong. That's not why we're here. The drug and the alcohol is not the problem. So right out of the gate, no wonder you keep repeating your behaviors because you're fighting the wrong fucking opponent. You're in the wrong ring. You're going to lose every time.
Yeah.
Right? The problem is the thinking and the attitude and the behavior. Right? So as long as I continue to repeat the behaviors, I'm going to repeat the outcomes where I end up in a place where the only answer is a shot of heroin or a glass of wine.
Yeah.
So once I realized the alcohol is the solution, not the problem, I've now identified, right, who my opponent is. It's my behaviors. So I had to change my behaviors to change the outcomes. I started to then gain a better understanding of the reality of my situation. And what I learned is the reason why I got beat so bad is because A, I always underestimated the opponent that I was up against because I was the great I am. And B, I never gave it the time, attention, or respect it deserved.
Yeah. And you're talking, when you say that, you mean like yourself basically? Or like, because it sounds to me like it's like you were saying, like, fucking heroin, fucking keep making me fucking do it. When in reality, it is like it's yourself. And nobody, even without drugs, nobody wants to admit that like they're a complete problem.
Exactly. And again, this isn't just substitute the word drugs for whether your things, porn, sex, food, shopping, gambling, fighting, fucking, whatever.
Yeah.
Right? These are the solutions to the problem. And you were talking about it during COVID, right? Prior to COVID, you'd walk around with all these narratives of these people. And then all of a sudden in COVID, and it made me think of it, we were kind of forced to be with ourselves, by ourselves, to look at ourselves, which is what we avoid by fucking fighting, betting, shopping. You know what I mean? And then I start to look at me, which is why I got high for so long, right? To escape the shitty reality I created for myself as a direct result of continuing to shoot dope. And then finally, when I got to a place where I could start looking at me, I realized that I'm the problem. Right? Yeah. There is no their part. And the longer I think that there is a their part as to why I'm this way, I'm just the victim. So now I'm going to drink because of my shitty life. And you would too if you had a life like mine. I'll justify why. Right? The brain is the fucking problem in every area of life.
Yeah, dude. It does. It can fuck you up, man. It can really fuck you up. You can do anything and just be like, get something in your head like, oh, I'm not good enough.
Totally. And then it just snowballs.
Yeah. It's kind of fucked up.
It's insane. But if you're aware of it, then it's worth its weight in gold.
Yeah, true.
And now, like, the longer I stay sober, the more work that I do, it's amazing. What I do know is that I don't fucking know. And I don't take credit for any of this.
Yeah. How long have you been sober for?
Coming up on 10 years.
Oh, nice. It's been a while.
Yeah. And now all I do, I dumb my way into this shit.
Yeah.
And now I always say I came into like sobriety as a king. And I worked my way up the ladder to become a humble servant. And the more people I help, the more I give away, the better my life is, the more I gain in return, which makes no sense.
Yeah.
Right? Like in any business transaction, if I give you something I have, I'm to walk away with less. In this weird, magical, spiritual world of recovery, anything that I give you, I'm walking away with more.
Yeah, dude, that I remember that was like a weird shock for me when I went to school for social work for a while, a couple years ago. And I would get like inmates housing. That was like a thing I did for like one of the field placements. And then there was this one guy who was a fucking pain in my ass. He'd always like call me and just be like, "You're not doing shit." Blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
He was under the gun because they were going to take his kid, a bunch of shit if he didn't find appropriate housing. And I remember the day I found him a house, we're both in this place. And I called him up. And I was like, "Yo, dude, we got it." And we both were so happy. And I was like, that was such a funny, for something so dumb. I mean, it's a big deal. It's a house. But I remember like I won this like comedy contest, and I was like, this is it. And then I got the guy a house, and it was literally the same feeling.
Again,
it was the same exact feeling of like
timing and opportunity meeting to create a beautiful outcome.
But it is a weird thing. That was like a weird thing for me when I was like, oh, you can get just as happy for doing nice things for people as you can, like, achieving some sort of personal victory.
Any monetary fucking victory.
Exactly. And it's like, it is honestly, I would argue that like when you do something like awesome for a person, I think it feels better than if you just like kill it in some way with like a sales thing.
Straight up.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. No matter how much, for me, what I did for the majority of my life is I just like rearranged the furniture on the Titanic right? For years. And I swore that this way was going to be the proper placement to make sure my ship doesn't sink. And I would always do that. And then I learned that like, it is what it is, right? Stop overcomplicating a simple process. And because the world kept right-sizing me. And I just I took me out of the equation. I thought less and just did more because I surrounded myself with like people who genuinely were also really good people that were just trying to make humanity a little bit better today than it was yesterday.
Yeah, that is a nice thing. And it's one of those things too. It's one of those things I think people sneer at. They're like, making the world better. It's like, sure. What the fuck else are you going to do, dude? Just be a dickhead all the time. But it's like, I feel bad personally, it's like, so you have, people, they go through, drug addiction. There's like this whole thing. It's like, everyone, when, I would imagine you're a drug addict, there's like a part of it, like everyone knows I'm an addict. People are talking shit on me, everyone, blah, blah, blah. But then almost like you reach a point where you're like, I don't give a fuck. And that's like a very freeing experience eventually. Whereas there's people who don't ever, fall into a deep drug addiction, but they never get to really face their own like self-defeating mental patterns. And in a way, it's almost like the person, in my opinion, who goes through addiction and gets out of that ends up having, I think, a richer existence than if you never really have to face that or come like face to face with yourself and like really look at yourself. Because there's people who get 100%. Through life good on, on paper, but it's like, they're tortured.
Absolutely.
And it's like, I always thought it was like a shame.
I couldn't agree with that sentiment anymore. That's a spot on fucking example.
Because everyone I know who's in recovery is like, they're very open. There's like almost like you can tell. It's like, okay, this person really has turned a corner because it's like something switches and it's like, nobody really knows exactly what that is, but it really is the most consistent factor is having some sort of spiritual experience or like, like an awakening experience.
Studies show that people that do what the studies show that sober people that do what other sober people do in order to stay sober have better odds of staying sober. So like there's not a black and white one size fits all. You can try another method or another avenue that could equate to the same result. But I got to a point where the stakes were way too high and I was tired of rolling the dice and I kind of wanted to start working smarter, not harder. So I just bought into what the group does in order to stay sober. But the funny thing was, and you said it, you know, it's all a thinking problem, right? And I always have this alcoholic brain that lies to me in my own voice. And it always makes me believe the unbelievable. Yeah, and it creates these delusional narratives. And I walked around for years thinking that no one in this world knew that I had a problem but me.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like I thought that I was kind of keeping it contained just enough to continue to enable my behaviors, which is getting high and justifying the outcomes.
So that's crazy. You really didn't think people were like hip to you at all.
Not nearly as much. So I didn't, right? I thought that no one in the world knew that I had a problem but me. And then when I finally bought into the process, what I learned is that everyone in the world knew that I had a problem but me.
Yeah, that's
right. I was the last person. Why? Because I possessed that job that consists of knowing everything.
That's really funny.
And I'm like, fuck. Right. And,
that's so funny.
And that's what I again, right. I was ignorant to the process and the reality of my alcoholism because I lived off of justification and minimization and deflection. Right. If only she didn't come home from work early, she wouldn't have found my needles on the table.
Yeah.
If only the parole officer's fucking husband would have banged her out, she would have been mad and gave me a piss test that fucking got me dirty and sentenced me to 6 months.
Yeah,
like all this
it's
nonsense.
Always other people's fault.
So finally, the craziest thing happened. I started to take accountability for my actions and started pointing the finger inward and realizing that, whoa, like it's me and my behaviors. And I started changing my behaviors. And I started changing the outcomes. And I started to like the results I got. So it snowball affected into this.
Yeah. It's just crossing that like threshold to even consider the possibility.
It was so simple though. I missed it. I overlooked it.
Yeah, dude, I think most people go their whole life without ever saying it. But
dude, everyone says, what's the answer? What's the answer? What's the answer? If any of us had the answer, we would bottle that thing, we'd sell it, we'd be a billionaire a billion times over.
True.
I believe it's so simple as just helping one fucking person. Someone took the time to stop and help me. I in turn helped another. 2 turned into 4, 4 turned into 8, 8 turned into 16. Before you know it, you're changing the narrative, which is ultimately changing the outcome. It's so simple. Just slow down the process and help one person.
Pardon the interruption. This may or may not be Sean Gardini speaking. And this may or may not be Sean Gardini on camera. Who is speaking and who is on camera is not important. I've come to tell you that Sean Gardini is doing stand-up comedy shows. The upcoming shows are in Cleveland, Ohio, December 8th, Buffalo, New York, December 10th, and Baltimore, Maryland, December 11th. Please come to those shows if you can. The tickets are at SeanGardini.com. Thank you.
Hear me out here. I failed to promote my shows in the Irvine Improv, SoCal. I'm so fucking SoCal. I forgot to do the ads or make a flyer for the Irvine show. Oops, my bad. It's next weekend. Thanksgiving weekend, Friday, November 29th, Saturday, November 30th, 2 days, 4 shows. Come out to motherfucking Irvine Improv. And I'll be honest, I'm not just saying this because I'm doing a show. I love Irvine. Irvine was the first place I went to in California. And I was telling someone recently, I'm like, I fucking love Irvine. And they lived in LA. And like, are you kidding? Are you trying to be funny? I'm like, no, why? And apparently everyone from LA just snubs Irvine. Like, I would never. Fuck you guys, dude. Irvine rules. LA's fucking bullshit. Irvine, we're talking Laguna Beach, we're talking motherfucking Newport Beach, conservative ass stronghold down there in SoCal, dude. Shit. Come out. I love Irvine. It's literally the first place I went to in California. I'm very excited to go there. I'm going to bring my whole motherfucking family. We're all going to do Thanksgiving out there. It's going to be sick. So Irvine Improv, Friday, November 29th, Saturday, November 30th. Let's go. Let's show these LA fucking pussies, dude, who's really fucking SoCal. They're not fucking SoCal. They're north of Irvine, bro. Yeah, so how did you get into the recovery homes? When did you start that? And like, what was that like?
I had my get well job was washing dishes for $6 an hour in Levittown, Pennsylvania.
Oh, nice.
At a diner called Mary Ann's. At 38 years old, I'm busting suds in the back with a coworker who's fucking 14. My brain told me that, and this is after skating, jackass, fucking author.
Yeah.
My brain told me I should have at the very least been the president of the United States. And I'm fucking busting suds with Brian here for $6 an hour.
Yeah, what was that like?
Struggling. I had heard the word humility and it sounded fucking cool and it rolled off the tongue right, but try swallowing that fucking thing.
I'm 38 right now, dude. If I had to bust the
imagine
suds.
fucking you leaving here and going back to Levittown, Pennsylvania to Maria's Diner. Shout out to Rich and they were great guys and the owners and busting suds for $6 an hour next to a 14-year-old.
How long did you do that for?
1 year.
That's long. That's
And
a decent time.
I had no idea what my next move was going to be. Right?
Yeah.
Because my qualifications didn't state that I had any special qualities.
I know what you mean. You can't be like, yo, let me hop on a TV show real quick.
Yeah. Or like, let me
fuck
fucking, I don't own a computer. I skipped that whole, I went from skating to heroin. I wrote my book, pen and paper. I can pawn laptops great. I don't use them. Even to this day, I don't email. I got my first ever computer during COVID. I used it 7 times and gave it the fuck away.
Really?
Yeah.
So are you all like, do you fuck with like the Instagram and all that
Yeah,
stuff? Okay,
I
so
like
you do
that. But
Gotcha.
like the thought of an app gives me anxiety.
I got what you're saying. Yeah.
Right? And I'm just like stubborn by nature. So
So you're busting the suds for a while. Then
Yeah.
How did you get into the?
But I started like that job that I thought was so fucking beneath me turned out to be the foundation of who I am today. And I think by social standards and regards, I could be considered a pretty successful guy. I have all these different businesses and properties and blah, blah, blah. But it all came from washing dishes. I started to like show up early. I'd stay late. I took pride in washing these dishes. I called out 1 day in a whole year because of a snowstorm. Like those behaviors started to change. Then my outcome started to change. I started to become self-sufficient. For the first time in life, I was paying my own recovery house bill, $165 a week. I was buying my own groceries, my own cigarettes, not relying or depending on anyone.
Yeah.
And I stopped like, and then what happened was someone asked me to speak at a candlelight vigil. A candlelight vigil for someone who had passed away, and because the 12-step program, AA, it's anonymous, so you don't know really what's going on there. But when I spoke at that candlelit vigil for people who had lost their lives, someone like had filmed it, and it started making its rounds on social media. And then an organization reached out to me, and they're like, "Would you like to come speak at our facility in Florida?" And I'm like, "Sure." And they put me up at the W in Fort Lauderdale in the penthouse, and I'm like, "What the fuck? Are they gonna like ask me for a donation?" I wash dishes, and they had come up with this whole design. Right, again, the blessings taking place unbeknownst to me. If I knew any of this was gonna happen, I'd fuck it up royally.
Sure, yeah.
And they had put together this whole plan, and presented it to me, and I'm like, dude, I didn't even know this world existed that I live in today.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of gave way, and I bought into what they would say, and in those meetings they'd say like, in order to keep what you have to give it away. And
Sure, yeah.
this is cliche as shit. And I vowed to myself that when I was in a position financially, I was going to recreate that sober living house I lived in.
That's cool.
And do for others what it had done for me. So literally on my 5th year anniversary, I opened up in Wilmington, Delaware, my very first men's sober living house called Novak's House, with 10 beds. And that has since turned into 7 houses for men and women in Wilmington, Delaware with 75 beds. And I fucking travel the world, and I have generous friends or just strangers that want to give back, and they occasionally stroke a check, and they provide money that I have in the scholarship fund. And my mission is to provide a bed for anyone in need of sober living after completing a treatment center. I refuse to let price be a deterrent as to why someone can't get help. And then, unfortunately, the demand was met. I kept fucking expanding, and I really wished that wasn't the case, and these didn't even exist.
Sure.
And I'm like, dude, I can help more, and I can be better. So then I created Redemption Addiction Treatment Center in Wilmington, Delaware. Well, in Newport.
Okay, yeah, that's
right next to
right
it.
Down there, yeah.
And it's an outpatient facility where people come during the day, 5 days a week, or nighttime groups.
Mm-hmm.
And I always tell people I'm on par to create like a David Koresh Waco, Texas compound vibe,
nice.
minus the gun and the fucking religion.
Yeah.
But I want to create this place where people feel like they want to be a part, right? It's all deliverance. Like I started this podcast. It's all with how you present something to me, right? So what I try to do is to create this whole fucking environment that people want to be a part at, as opposed to feeling like they have to.
Yeah, what was your? Do you have any like when you went to any treatment centers? Did you have ones that you felt like? Because you hear some people like, "That place is a fucking scam. They're just fucking taking my money." Like, did you have any places you thought were just like churning people in and out, or do you think that's just people's like perception of the place?
I think it's and it's just opinion based. I think it's people's perception.
Yeah.
The treatment center that I ultimately got sober in, people would be like, you'll never get sober there. It cost me $2 to get into. It was a Catholic Charities program in Baltimore. And if you looked out, you weren't allowed to look out the blinds, because if you looked out, they were literally serving dope and coke and crack on the corner.
Jesus.
It was like a bottom of the barrel kind of joint.
Yeah.
But I believe it takes what it takes until it takes. And who are you or I to say what it will be for it to take?
That makes sense.
It's between you and the maker of whatever you choose to fucking call it. Because they don't, it's not like once you get to this appropriate program, they give you this secret pill for the cool kids. It's fucking recycled rhetoric that you hear in all the facilities.
Yeah,
it's like, fuck.
Yeah, that does make sense.
I believe the perfect treatment center is whichever one you get sober in.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a say. Like, I didn't get to pick my sober date. I didn't,
Yeah, true.
Again, that was a blessing.
Yeah, like
they
gave you the right massage.
Yeah,
and
they finally they fucking gave me a happy ending with a massage, and they played my favorite song.
That might turn me around.
And I come God, and here we are. I'm the spiritual fucking guru. Fuck your way into recovery. That's
You're right.
not the deal.
Yeah, true.
I wish.
There is a very unsexy element to it where you're saying, like, yeah, you can be in like a place that people think sucks really
Straight
badly.
up.
It really is a wholly internal process.
I'm a firm believer you can get sober in a fucking pub sitting on a bar stool with a bottle of Jack in front of you if you're ready.
Yeah,
Straight up.
What do you think about like the California sobriety people do, where it's like I'm California sober, I'll like drink and smoke weed and shit, and like,
Dude, I did this TMZ thing. They did a special recently on Matthew Perry.
oh yeah,
Yeah, I read his book. Brilliant book, by the way. Whole newfound respect for that man. Rest in peace to him. But they were doing this hour-long documentary, Harvey and them, and they reached out and they wanted me to weigh in on it. And they asked me the same question. And the truth of the matter is, I'd be really ignorant if I sat here and pretended to possess the answer of like how to live a perfect life with coming up on 10 years sober. That's like, my mother'd be like, fuck you, asshole. You should have did it your whole life, you idiot.
Yeah.
So like, all I know is my narrative because it worked for me. I'm never going to tell anybody what you should or should not do. I believe with California Sober, with MAT, Suboxone, Subutex, Vivitrol, Methadone, if it provides you a life that you believe is worth waking up and getting out of bed for every morning without the thought of wanting to kill yourself, I'll fucking drive you to the dispensary. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure,
fuck me for thinking that I have the answer.
Yeah,
I just have my narrative. So what I always say is that when I'm kind of giving a talk or working with clients, if you can find more similarities than differences, it might make sense to pay attention.
Yeah.
But if not, that's cool too.
Yeah.
Right? Because everyone at the end of the day, you're entitled to your own process. You were entitled to have that realization during COVID of like being a fucking asshole to strangers that did nothing to you.
Sure.
And if I would have robbed you of that process, you might not have come to the conclusion that you have today where just being kind is the right way.
Yeah.
So looking back, if anyone would have robbed me of one less fucking sleepless night I caused my mother or pain that I made everyone endure, like I might not be here today.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So
yeah,
it's
kind of a personal
Yeah.
timeline for everybody.
For sure. And it's like, and I'm not saying that my way is the right way. It's just my fucking way.
Yeah.
You know?
Because I know that's a big battle. When I was in social work school, there's like people who are like, it's called like harm reduction
Sure.
versus people who are like, nothing, you better knock all that
I'm
shit
a big
the
harm
fuck up.
reduction guy.
Yeah,
and at the end of the day, it's like, who the fuck, like, that's between them and their higher power.
Yeah.
Like, all of a sudden, I believe I'm God and I can predict what your fucking best outcome will be for your life and your situation. Fuck.
Yeah, true. You don't know.
And I'm a spiritual guy. And if I'm a spiritual guy, like I say I am, where's my spirituality if I judge your spirituality?
Yeah.
Right? So, like, I believe my higher power is everything. I think it's crack. I think it's heroin. I think it's life, death. It's like, what's love without sadness? What's joy without sorrow?
Mm-hmm.
Right? You have to have all these. Without those fucking overdoses, without life support, without fucking ruining my life, I would not be the child of, I hate to say God because people are like, oh, this religious fuck, but a child of God today who I really like do my best to help humanity. I wouldn't be here. I'd still be in that position of like, what the fuck's wrong with you? You think you have it figured out, you fucking idiot? You deserve what you get.
Yeah.
And that's where I'd probably be.
Yeah, well, it is funny. People, I've talked about this before, but it is funny how that is like, the God talk's taboo now. Before
Totally.
it was like you couldn't talk about sex. Now you can be like, I'm fucking jizzing. And everyone's like, but if you're like,
Yeah, that whole Me Too movement at that point.
true.
Yeah.
That. But if you mention God, people are like, what the fuck?
Totally.
And it's like a pretty wholesome, I think it's a very wholesome concept. But it got tainted by, I think, people just being like the religion aspect of being like, you're going to hell because you fucking came.
For
in.
sure.
It's like that.
And that's a shame. But
sucks.
but you need those people, right? Those people are just as important as the other ones that aren't those people to make me realize how much I don't want to be like that. Because
Yeah.
without those people, I'll turn into that person.
Yeah.
Because I don't have like a warning sign or like
Yeah.
like who I don't. I need the bad to remind me what I don't want to become. So I practice good.
Yeah, and I wonder if it's gonna like, because every even like religions, like concepts of God, like go through waves where it's like we used to think it was like fucking fire, and now we were like there was like the mythological hero of like there's these entities in the sky that we can like be like, hey, please help us. That'll like change everything, and then like that like around like an organized like testament of like this is the guy who came down from heaven and Amnita. So now I wonder if it is going to regroup in like some different conception that people will universally buy into, or if it'll just be like a fractured thing forever.
The older I get at 45, I see that things just evolve, but then just come back around.
Yeah.
Like, I was looking on the plane the other day, and there's this chick who has, as you see, these new things are like the big headphones.
Apple Pros.
Where like your mom used to have it back in the 80s. Yeah. And no one's doing the AirPods anymore. It's just like Miami Vice, like fucking color schemes and chicks wearing baggy ass jeans have now come back.
I know.
So it's like,
weird.
just live long enough and you'll realize that like shit's not that heavy.
Yeah.
and it's going to be okay. And the fact of the matter is you don't really have much say so in any of it anyways.
Yeah.
For me, that's what I do. And I just kind of remain like, I don't know what I remain. It just depends on when you ask me.
No, that's true. So, and then, I'm curious too. So you were doing the Viva La Bam stuff and all that stuff fell out. Like what happened with all of like all the people from Jackass? You guys all still talk, or like where did like, was there like a big falling out, or like what happened?
Nah, I mean, everyone's good. I was just with Steve-O in LA a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, he's kind of doing his thing.
He's killing it. Pontius, I love him. I speak with him, and those two guys I probably speak to more regularly than the most. Bam is battling his own demons, and unfortunately because of that, we seem to be in two different places where there's just not a lot in common at the moment.
For sure,
so we don't really just pick up the phone and chat. I think if I had to make a prediction of what would kind of connect us again, it would probably be skateboarding.
That's cool.
That's always been the common bond and theme throughout our relationship.
Do you still skateboard?
Yeah. But
nice.
For my mental health now, obviously
really?
not like is like
you just do it for fun.
Yeah, I try
That's
to
cool.
carve out time to like just get in a van and go with the homies and film and just like shut everything off.
That's kind of tight.
And other like Brandon Turner, shout out to Brandon Turner. He's on the West Coast, fucking killing it. He's a sober guy. A lot of skaters have become sober and they're kind of doing their own thing with recovery. And I was talking to him yesterday, and we're gonna fly out. I'm gonna fly out there. Kind of, we're working on a project together possibly, and. So oddly enough, the ones that we used to party and run with and fucking go crazy with have now found like this new way of life. It's really attractive, and we join forces to just kind of hopefully promote a healthy way of living.
Yeah, it is funny, especially if you think about the origins of like Jackass was like the possibly unhealthiest, most insane way of living possible, and it was so fucking fun to watch. It was awesome, but it is funny to come full circle and be like, now we've all actually chilled out immensely. And
dude, Steve-O is like so fucking sober. There was a point in time where I thought about asking him to be my sponsor, and I'm like, dude, I don't know if I want to get like that sober. Yeah, like he's like shout out to him, but he's like someone that motivates me. But he's like, you know what I mean? He's authentically like what you see is what you get, and who he is who he is, and it does not waver no matter where or what he's doing. It's brilliant. Yeah,
it's pretty cool, man. And it's also one of those things like, sobriety, again, if you're just kind of kicking around, you're going out to get drinks every Sunday, you don't necessarily have, like let's say like a problem quote.
Yeah.
It is one of those things that I think when you're, drinking a lot or like partying, it's like, it almost seems alien. But it like, if you really like strip it down from like, take substances out of it, I always thought it's a really like it's cool for a person to be able to remain with their thoughts in their own state of consciousness rather than, you constantly escape it. It's like, all right, I'm gonna get stoned, all right, I'm gonna get that. And you're constantly jumping out. But I think that is a serious like sign of mental strength to like, and people do like sober October, which that must be kind of funny when like the whole world's like, we're gonna be sober for 1 month. And you're like, all right.
But I've seen me do that. So like, fuck yeah, I'm all about it.
True. But it's gotta be funny with like 10 years, like, oh, I'm glad you're having fun.
For sure.
There is something I think that is like, especially the older you get, it's like, it does take mental strength to like sit with yourself, not being able to kind of leave your consciousness like a little bit by, doing like, oh, I want to get a little high, I want to do this, blah, blah, blah. Totally. And I think it's like, it's a genuine virtue that I think gets skipped over. People are kind of like, yeah, dude, fuck, I'm gonna have a couple beers, fuck that. Like people kind of dismiss it a lot, especially when you're drinking. But I always thought it was like it's hard to do. It's like, it's very hard to do. And it takes like, when you can't kind of jump out of yourself for a little bit, it forces you to work through, the kind of, whatever, broken gears in your head.
I make a point to let people know that in my programs, right? Because the people that I'm working with, they're coming in, they have a week, they have 2 weeks, they have 4 days, they have 1 day, and they're sitting in there and they're feeling like they're not enough. They could be doing more. They should be further along. And I'm like, look, what you're doing, the majority of society is not. Who wants to strip away their escape routes to be forced to look at themselves, right? With themselves, by themselves, without having any drink or drug to escape the terrible reality that you've created as a result of your addiction and man up and fucking walk through it. I'm like, I will walk with you people. You people are the ones that I want on my team right now. Like at fucking over 10 years and you are the people that I fuck with, right? Like, and there's a lot to be said with that because I don't just give my time to anybody.
Sure, yeah.
So it's like, I really make it a point because I know in early sobriety, it's like those week, 5 days, 30 days, 60 days, it's like of sobriety. It's like a bipolar roller coaster ride from hell.
Yeah, I can
right? You can be above heaven high, the wind can blow wrong. You're like below hell low, trying to figure what the fuck just happened. So it's important to give people the credit of it takes a lot of work to end up in that position for fucking 2 days sober.
Yeah.
It's and I always say it takes so much longer to get 2 days sober than it will to get 2 years sober.
Yeah.
Because you're just sitting there looking at the clock and you're like,
yeah,
should I not? Can I not? Should I say fuck it and just do it? Should I not do it? You're still consumed with the actual drink or drug. You're just not partaking at that moment.
Yeah.
And to make it through that, to address all these ailments and start to look at you without an escape, that's fucking big boy shit.
Yeah, it sucks.
And most people don't do it.
Yeah, I know.
And that's okay. I need those people that don't do it to show me why I really need to keep doing it.
For sure, yeah.
Right? It's all perspective because they told me in treatment if I changed my perception, I could change my world.
Yeah.
And I bought into that shit. You know, and believe it or not, they were fucking right.
Yeah. No, it's pretty sick, man. I'm happy for you, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. You know, it's like I'm stoked. I'm grateful. But who really is like my mother, my friends, my employees, the police, the probation, the parole officers, the judges. You know, life has become a better place to be in with my sobriety, not only for me, but for other people.
Yeah, and I always, like you were saying, the service thing's big because especially when you're like, you know, if you're in even with or without drugs, if you're just like living a negative existence, you're usually convinced like in order to conquer my own negative existence, I have to achieve at some level that just somehow like shuts all this down and people will realize and they'll like me. Whereas like in recovery, it's like, or you can just like help people. Yeah. And it gets the same thing. Like if you're like lonely, it's like, well, rather than trying to be the man, just go volunteer. Yeah. And you'll get that, like, it's like a quick route into kind of like a nice social existence. And everyone just is like, no, I have to conquer the world. Yeah. It's like, too easy. It's too simple. Exactly. It's really fun. I always thought that was kind of funny.
It's like, it's a simple fucking approach for an overcomplicated thinker. Yeah. And that's why I say smart people generally have a hard time getting it. Yeah. You know, I had to dumb my way into this position. And that was through me being beaten into a state of reasonableness as a direct result of my behaviors. But it doesn't have to get that way, right? Like one of my business partners, I met him in treatment. It was his first attempt ever at getting sober. And he's remained sober.
Really? He was like, fuck it up.
So it's like, and that's the frustrating thing. Most people are like, well, why can't my loved one get it at number 1? Why does he have to get to 13 like you? There's no black and white. It's such an individualized process. And if you look at the statistics, it's very sad because it states that you're not going to win. Yeah, but I'm here to fucking say, like, fuck that. Yeah, like, not only am I going to win, I'm going to fucking kill it. I'm going to own it, and it's going to turn into be my biggest blessing. Yeah. And if I can do it, so the fuck can you. There's nothing different between us except for what I was willing to do.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm sure that's got to be like, it's really rewarding too. Like you were saying, having the groups and like seeing like even a couple people kind of take off. Because I guess if you really look at the recovery homes, it's like, if this doesn't work for me, this whole place is bullshit. Or it'd be like, dude, for sure, someone's got to do something. What is like the opiate with overdoses going down? Are they still going up or like?
I'm not a big stats guy. I don't look at numbers. I just kind of fucking remain ignorant to it and live in my own world.
Yeah. Well, you don't hear about it as much anymore. It like dominated everything for a while.
After COVID, alcohol became a big thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I have a lot of alcoholics in my facility now.
Gotcha.
And then meth's making a pretty big
meth made a
push.
Wow, comeback.
A lot of people got off heroin or fentanyl with meth.
Yeah.
You know?
I've known people who have like off the heroin, meth comes into the picture, and they're like, "Damn, I'm actually super productive." And then
I work with the DEA. I'm like a keynote speaker for the DEA at these summits that they have all over the nation. And I was just doing an event with them in St. Louis, and they were like, "Yeah, cocaine's making a big comeback. We're fucking busting down big shipments of cocaine." So kind of like how I said Miami Vice was cool again. Like crack could be cool again soon with like the 80s. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like that's usually how the world works.
Do you think they should legalize drugs? Do you think that'd be easier to help people, or do you think it would make things worse?
I think so. You know, I don't know about legalizing it, but I do believe in like safe injection sites. And Philly was going to be the first place to do that.
Yeah.
And then they shut it down at the midnight hour. And their fear was that like it could trigger others in the community to want to get high. And maybe that's the case, but for me, I would never walk past a safe injection site and be like, I think I want to go in there and shoot up heroin.
Yeah, I don't think it would. I think they did this in London or Britain, whatever, years ago. And
I believe
worked.
it works. In Sweden, I think maybe.
Yeah.
And what I think would be beautiful about it is you use it as a portal, right? It's a major harm reduction approach. They give you clean needles, clean water, clean cotton.
And they test, obviously, the drugs.
And then they test the drugs. And the majority of the people that are in there don't really want to be in there anymore.
That's kind of what
it's lost its allure.
Exactly. You're under you're in like a doctor's bench.
Yeah, you're being fucking monitored as you shoot up with some weird guy to make sure you don't die, to inject you with Narcan. So at the very least, when you do say you're ready, bam, we have avenues to get you.
Yeah.
But now check this out. Me being a major advocate for that, right? I own where I live in Old City, right, in Philly, and a really nice place. And someone said to me, they said, well, would you want it next to your house? And I'm like,
no.
Yeah, because it fucked my property value up, right? And I'm just being transparent and open.
Sure,
and like,
for sure.
So there's two sides to every fucking coin.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, then, again, with that, you're going to have people like pop a door handle and all this shit. And it's like, yeah, because you're like.
Straight up. So
here.
I really just try to remain like Switzerland in a lot of fucking plays.
That makes
just
sense,
neutral and adapt accordingly.
At least you're honest, because I heard people be like, I wouldn't care, and it's like,
yeah,
you sure,
yeah. And, that's just the truth of the matter. Now, not saying that like, if the opportunity presented itself and they were going to do it, I would still back it. But in my mind, I'm like, couldn't you just go a neighborhood over? You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't vote no on it. Let's put it that way. I would not vote no on it, but I would definitely vote for it to be in the next neighborhood over.
For sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Everybody would.
Yeah. So it's just, I don't know. It's such a individualized thing. I don't know what the approach is except for just taking the time to help one person.
Yeah.
That's it. One person.
True.
And that one person who helped me. Just think about all the heroin that I stopped injecting, all the people I stopped hurting, the one less needle that's being found on your kid's playground because I stopped shooting up.
Yeah, man.
Like, it goes that far.
It's crazy. And again, like you were saying, like people, you get kind of mired in the cliche of it, but it is pretty nuts to think about that. Like if, that guy that day had been like, fuck him, I don't feel like doing
Straight
this.
up.
Like you were saying, your mom's upset, but you're burning bridges, you're ripping shit off, you're going to jail, all the shit. And it's like, it's pretty crazy when you think about the ripple effect.
And I believe that that's the approach that will change the outcome. I mean, it's put it this way. So in Delaware, where all my sober living houses are, my treatment center as well, we really wanted the community to see, because in there they said, well, we don't really want them in our neighborhood, right? I get it. So one of the stipulations with Novak's house is when it snows, you have to go out and you shovel your neighbor's porch and their driveway, and like you be kind to humanity and society. And then that was working, and it snowball affected into the guys and women living in Novak's house. They started getting jobs within the community.
That's cool.
And then the people who owned the businesses that started hiring the Novak's house clients, they saw something different in them. Same thing that happened to me. I'd show up to work early. I'd stay late. I took pride in washing dishes. They're like, where are you? What's, because they aren't, it's just different. And they're like, where are you from? What's the backstory? Like, oh, we live in this place called Novak's house. It's a sober house. And what the business owners within the community did on their own, I wish I could take credit for this, is they created a private Facebook page called Novak's House Hires. And if any of these businesses need employees, they put a post up that goes to the Novak's house only. And then if any of the Novak's house people need a job, they put their resume or what their qualifications are.
That's cool.
Because like they're seeing the good that they're creating through the ethics and behaviors. And like it's taking on a whole life of its own, right? So like it's snowball effects, then it opens the window for people wanting to hire people in recovery, where before it was taboo, it was shied away from. You don't do that, they'll rob you, they'll lie to you, they'll steal from you. I'm here to prove that that's not the fucking reality.
Nice,
of
man.
all of, but like
for sure, I know what you're saying. Yeah, it can be done.
But the old saying is if you haven't been ripped off in AA, you're not helping enough newcomers. So it's like
no, that makes sense. But that's fucking awesome, man.
Yeah, and again, I'm not creative enough or intelligent enough to create that. It's just me stepping out and letting the process play out.
Oh yeah. Well, dude, I think that's it, man. Thank you so much, bro. I really appreciate that.
I enjoyed this.
I'm pumped to hear about that, and I enjoyed it too, man. I'm really happy to hear, it's good to hear people taking their time to help the world. Like that's still a thing, because I think a lot of people
for sure
just get so, and it's not like a bad thing.
I would say I'm guilty of it too.
And your wife more or less was like, "You're fat."
Yeah.
Dude, that's the best. And then it launched you, and then you just got the ultimate revenge and started like a super successful business. How do you feel about
She was
that?
very sweet. She said, she didn't say you're fat. She goes, you need to work on being less, not thin.
That's worse though.
It's
I'd
so
rather
good.
someone be like, you fat ass, and be like, you need to be less not thin. But you just swam 25 miles.
Yeah. Well,
That's wonderful though. That is good though to have a woman to push you to those heights. Because then is that really like the genesis of you kind of branching out into like,
I had actually already left medicine at that point. I had been out of medicine for 3 years. I was working at that time. God, what was I doing? I was working at an energy company, I think, or maybe I was in finance or something. I was like, I had nothing to do with medicine. But that was right around the time my daughter was born as well. And so I think that was kind of the 1-2 punch. It was sort of my daughter's born. And then I'm realizing actually like I'm not that healthy.
Yeah.
Even though I exercise a lot, I'm actually not that healthy. And that those two things were what kind of got me to be pretty obsessed with just trying to figure out how to not die prematurely.
the kids do that. I have a 2 and a 4-year-old, and that really kind of, I actually thought, you'll find this interesting. I thought I was healthy. I was doing the, all these apps. Like I did the one where you like mail your poop and all that stuff. And I did that. They came back like, dude, you're like 6 years younger biologically. I was like, dude, this is awesome. I had the Oura thing. I had that going on, telling me I'm 7 years younger than my age. And then I took a blood panel. Dude, I'm like pre-diabetic.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, what the fuck, man? It was like, I thought I was like killing it. And I got it back and it was like, I literally just found out 2 days ago. So this timing couldn't be more perfect. My what is it, A1C, I think
Yeah.
it was? My A1C is like 5.7, which was like, but I did eat 2 bites of a pancake before my blood work, which you're not supposed to do.
Shouldn't impact the A1C.
Damn
though.
it, dude. I was fucking hoping that was the answer. Yeah, so that is kind of crazy because and again, I don't, I'm not the definition of fitness, but I'm not like, I thought I had the almost type 2 diabetes.
Well, it takes a while. Like no one wakes up diabetic, but also most people don't recognize that it's a 10-year journey for most people to
Really?
get there. Yeah.
So what? I have like four more years of pre-diabetes.
No, I mean, I think that's impossible to predict for any one person, but we definitely know the disease is so much more complicated than people, I think, historically have thought of it. People have historically said, well, I mean, type 2 diabetes is your pancreas can't make enough insulin, you can't get enough glucose out of your blood into the muscles, and eventually we just cut off some arbitrary number. We just say once you reach a certain level of blood glucose, then you have type 2 diabetes. But to me, that's just not a great way to think about it. I think of it as a continuum and a spectrum. And pre-diabetes is a step along the way, but we also know that the lower your blood sugar, the better. So 5.7 is better than 5.8 is better than 5.9. But even though we would call you quote unquote normal at 5.6, I would argue 5 is much better than 5.6.
Gotcha. I see what you're saying. Yeah, it was like for real joke because I was like dancing in the end zone on my wife because she is her biological age and I'm not rubbing it in, but it was like whatever. And I was like, I'm 5 years older than her, so I was like her peer biologically. And I was laughing. I was
These biologic clocks things are such a scam. It is
I know.
incredible.
Well, dude,
I love
mine
it. No,
went
I love
down.
it. I love it.
Mine
It's
went down.
brilliant marketing.
It is
brilliant marketing.
Well, I woke up one day and I went like I lost half a year of my
Yeah.
biological age. I was like, what the fuck did I do? I like went into a panic. But yeah, so that was like a real revelation for me. I was like, holy shit, man, because my dad has type 2 diabetes. And I was like, yeah, that's on him. He eats ice cream all the time. I'm healthy. And I like got my blood work and I was like, son of a bitch. By the way, I'm just breaking this right now. I don't
This is breaking news.
This is breaking news.
This is like so timely.
I have and I was actually, it is very timely. And I have been leveraging it emotionally in my household, which is nice. Anytime my wife bothers me, I'm like, dude, I have pre-diabetes. This cortisol is going to mess up my insulin. So
I got a text message literally on the way over here from a buddy who just got a vasectomy yesterday. And we had recommended the urologist to him who was going to do it. So he goes, look, I just want to tell you, man, literally the best experience ever. The guy was incredible, so funny. He's got me draped like over the table. So like, he's like, there's a drape, like I'm laying on my back.
like
and
a
there's
C-section? They do like they don't let you see?
Yeah, it's like you're sterile.
Okay.
They want to keep you sterile, right?
Gotcha.
And the guy walks in the room first time. He hasn't seen me. He doesn't see my face. He just sees my schlong and he goes, oh, I remember you. But he was like, but it was just all jokes. And he says today, he goes, look, honestly, zero pain at all. But don't tell my wife. I am going to milk this as 10 out of 10 pain
so
for
important.
another week.
So important.
Yeah.
So also the vasectomy, you can't ejaculate for like what, 7 days or something?
That's a good question. I don't know how many days.
Swear to God,
I don't know how many
it's-
days.
I think it's like 7. My friend did it. He
had to hold off. Yeah.
7 whole days, and he said he went a little prematurely and said he had a little bit of pain. So that's not good. But yeah, dude. So that was kind of crazy, man. Because again, I've been doing all the services because I haven't like been to a doctor in forever. Because I'm like, I go to, and this is I think was cool in your book. You have like, what was it, healthcare 2.0 versus like 3. What was the latest?
Yeah, medicine 2.0 versus medicine
2.0.
3.0. Yeah.
So 3.0 is kind of where you're at. That's kind of more cutting edge. 2.0 is like a step up from like medieval humors and
Yeah, but still important. I mean, we still want medicine 2.0. Medicine 2.0 will take care of a problem when it shows up.
Gotcha.
And if you're in a car accident, you break your leg, you get pneumonia, you want someone who knows how to deal with those problems. But it's a very different system from, hey, how do I take a guy whose hemoglobin A1C is 5.5, who everyone thinks is just perfect, but I think he's on the path to actually, being diabetic in 10 years. And why would I wait till he's staring down the door when I could just make the changes now?
Yeah, and that was kind of my beef with doctors. I would go there and they're like nice. I don't have anything against them, but I go there and they're just kind of like, yeah, your cholesterol is good. And I'm like, this is all we're worried about? Like this is it's like, and then they lowered the window to like blood pressure. One day I went in there and they're like, oh, by the way, high blood pressure is lower now. And I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't have a blood pressure problem, but it's like I just feel like you go there and it's like you're like a car. You go in and they check like 2 things. You're like, yeah, you're good. But so I really liked your book, how you're like, you want to check for more things and try to increase the health span, not just the lifespan, which I like. Because a lot of people are very unhealthy. I thought I was a poster child for health, dude. I'm one of the suffering Americans. Just I need Michelle Obama to come make me lunch, dude. I'm fucking fucked up right now. So what are you working on right now? Because the book, has anything changed from the book? And again, correct me if I'm wrong, but the summary was like the 4 horsemen. That's the things that the 4 leading causes of death. And there are what? Heart disease,
Cancer,
neurodegenerative
neurodegenerative diseases and dementing diseases like Alzheimer's disease and metabolic disease.
That's me. That's diabetes, right?
And they overlap. So
Yeah.
when you have type 2 diabetes, your risk of those other diseases goes up by 50%. So that one sort of feeds into the other. And also if you have cardiovascular disease, your risk of dementia goes way up. So,
Oh, really?
oh yeah.
Damn, that sucks. Yeah, and you know what's weird too? Because I don't want to turn this into like a personal doctor visit, but like I, for real, had like crazy brain fog. Like I was like messing up recalling words, and a lot of my mom's side had like dementia stuff when they got older. So I started being like, damn, I might be like getting like early dementia. And as soon as I learned about the high A1C, and I don't know if that's like high enough to cause brain fog. Like I was like, I forgot the word croissant. I was like trying to think of that word, couldn't think of that. But as soon as I got off all the carbs, and now I'm like basically doing like keto, my brain just like came right back to life. It's pretty nuts.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that that's related to the A1C per se, but fluctuating levels of blood glucose make it just a little more difficult. And some people are more sensitive to it than others. Some people, they can eat all the carbs in the world and it doesn't seem to phase them. And a lot of people are like, no, the moment I go to slower carbs or just no carbs at all, or just more complex carbs, my energy levels normalize. And so too does my attention.
Yeah, dude, that happened for me. And I also don't have to eat as much. Like I was eating so much, man. It would be like 4 cups of rice. I was just pigging out.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I stopped eating that much carbs, I eat like 2 meals a day, and they're pretty like sparse. So,
Tell me about these pictures here. What's
thank
the
you, man.
significance?
This I just figured it was funny because it's just kind of like a just an ample naked lady sitting at a picnic. So I literally picked the pictures very quickly. This one I just wanted very intense imagery.
Yeah.
And so this is kind of like, this is pleasant. It's a little complicated.
What do you think's going on here? Why is she naked? And who are these guys?
These guys are up to no good for sure. They, I think these guys, it looks like they just got happened upon, and someone's going, "What the hell are you doing with that ample naked lady in the park?" And this guy's like,
but he's like fully dressed.
Yeah.
Who's the girl in the background?
So to answer your first question, this is a clothed male, naked female. It's a fetish. That's going on, and I think she's kind of like next. I think they're like, get over here.
Mm-hmm.
Strip down so we can have a naked picnic. This caused a serious uproar back in the day when this guy painted this. It was a problem.
I can see why.
They were like, if you had someone pose, this lady had to have been a prostitute. And they're like, that's totally scandalous.
Yeah. What year approximately was this?
I wish I knew. I don't know. If I had to guess, I would say like maybe the late 1800s. If I had to guess, I could be wrong. And that guy, I don't know what that guy's hat's all about over there, but
yeah, I mean, it's sort of. I don't want to profile him, but I have thoughts.
True. It is a hat. I don't recognize that hat, and I do have my own suspicions as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he's like, I don't know what's going on. He seems kind of distracted. I think he's being caught. She's just kind of getting caught. There's just a lady in a pond, maybe, just kind of floating around.
Oh, that's interesting. See, I see that now. I thought she was picking up apples, but maybe she's washing her hands
Sure. Well,
in the pond.
one could only guess why. But yeah, so that was cool. I thought that was a fun one. This is very intense. I like this. And then I just, toss a little crucifixion up there.
Yeah, it's the rainbow crucifixion. I don't know my biblical history well enough to. I would embarrass myself if I asked dumb questions. But is there a rainbow after the crucifixion?
I would hope so. God was rising back to heaven 2 days before, so I'd hope that.
No, I thought it was 3 days after this.
3 days. My bad.
Yeah,
3 days. 3 days.
So so that foreshadowed maybe the resurrection. Is what
could
you're
be.
saying.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah.
But I honestly don't know. I don't have any real knowledge.
Can you imagine how brutal the world was when we crucified people?
I think about it all the time.
Like, how lucky are we to live in this candy ass world of softness?
Dude, I try to tell it to people, and I have people tell me.
I'm so grateful.
It's insane because I try to tell people, I'm like, dude, it was way different. And other people will be
like those guys were thieves, right?
Yeah.
Like that today, you wouldn't even go to jail
in
most cities.
Yeah, they'll kill you.
Yeah. And then you get crucified?
Yeah. And it also, the procession was like a pretty nasty part of it too. Just to get walked through the streets, spit upon, rocks thrown at you.
I can't fathom.
Dude, the social anxiety.
And by the way, that's only
crazy.
2,000 years ago, which in the arc of human history is yesterday.
Nothing.
That's nothing.
That's what I try to tell people, man. Because there's a lot of people who are like, everything's always been the same. It's just different variations on the same themes. And I'm like, dude, it's gotten so much different from 2,000 years ago. It can still get so much different.
Think about 500 years ago, right? Think about if you could be you, or you could be the king of England 500 years ago with like, it sounds great until you get like a dental abscess and you realize there's no AC, there's no heat, the food sucks.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think you're going to be the king of England 500 years ago. I think
the food still sucks in England now. Yeah, that's a good point because you
it's
could
probably pre-fish and chips.
Yeah, that would actually suck. I never thought about being like the king of another country. But it would be pretty terrible. There was a king in some medieval time, like longer ago than that, but they thought alcohol was like health stuff back in the day. It was like the spirit.
It kind of was because water was so contaminated, right?
Yeah.
So you basically had two broad cultures that emerged from either the fermentation of water, right, and alcohol to make to get rid of the bacteria, or tea, right? You have sort of the rise of the sort of tea culture where you boiled water. But yeah, the idea that you were just going to go and drink water was like, the fact that we're sitting here drinking this is incredible.
It's pretty tight actually. But yeah, they had a king. They were like, they rubbed him down in like brandy maybe. And then they were like, all right, we're going to like rub this all over his body. And like a candle got too close and just burnt the guy alive. And all the high priests or whatever had to be like, you must have been fucking evil.
Yeah.
It's fucked up.
no one put two and two together. They didn't understand exothermic chemical reactions.
Damn, dude. So let me ask you this. What is the gist of your book is basically, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but the gist was basically like we can pre-screen better and we can kind of promote wellness rather than waiting till somebody has like a horrible, often irreversible disease and like try to fix it through kind of like nuking the
tumor. And part of it is like, what gets measured gets managed. And so Medicine 2.0 measures lifespan as the ultimate outcome, that's been productive. That's a good thing to measure. I'm not suggesting we shouldn't care about lifespan because 150 years ago, lifespan was 40 years. Today it's 80. That's insane. We doubled lifespan. And that's all due to Medicine 2.0. Basically figuring out how to not kill women when they gave birth to children, how to keep babies alive when they were born, how to fight infections, how to wash our hands, like that, and a little bit of stuff around trauma and critical care, like you doubled human lifespan. But we're not managing health span. And so part of the argument is, okay, we've done pretty well on lifespan. We could do better, but we really have to manage health span.
Yeah.
And so if we think about things that make up health span, it's sort of like, how much muscle mass do you have? How strong are you? How much endurance do you have? How much flexibility and balance do you have? How quick is your cognitive performance? How happy are you? How are your relationships? How much joy do you have in your life? These things are softer and squishier. Some of them are pretty easy to measure, like VO2 max and muscle mass and strength. Some of them are harder to measure, like cognitive performance. But if you don't measure something, there's no chance you're going to manage to it. And I would just argue we have to slightly tilt in the direction of doing more on that front.
Yeah, it'd also be cooler to go to the doctor and have him like hit the treadmill. Let's check your VO2 max.
Yeah, let me see how long you can dead hang for. Let me see your grip strength.
That'd be so much better than sitting there and just being like basically getting molested and leaving. That's all you do. You go there and they're like, all right, we're gonna. What is the coughing? Why do they do that? Why do they hold your?
It's funny. I thought you were going to ask me to do it to you earlier when you said this is not an appointment. I literally thought you were going to whip your junk out and have me check.
I'm just going just for the A, dude. You got to do the butt.
They're checking for a hernia.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
But why is that like the top of the pops? And
exactly.
There's so much other things to check. It's like we're not going to do all this other stuff that'd be useful. We're
not going to look at a bunch of things, but I do want to stick my finger in the inguinal canal.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I'm gonna make you cough.
And I'm glad they do that, but it's like, why did that get picked as opposed to all of his other stuff you're talking about? Do you think it has something to do with like just like institutional, just repressed homosexuality throughout the entire culture? And that was like,
I don't know, but I will say this: like, I can't tell you how many rectal exams I've done, and then I realized, like, I mean. Technically, a good urologist will tell you that their finger is good enough to truly feel a prostate cancer that would otherwise not be picked up on a PSA or some other test. And I'll take them at their word. But I think for the rest of us who don't do 20 a day, I don't think my finger is good enough.
Don't say that.
I mean, I'll work harder, but
yeah, that's crazy. So they're saying they can just feel like it's just
they've said like, look, man, there's always that one case that slips through the crack where the guy has a normal PSA, no pun intended. Yeah, jeez.
So they can tell, yeah.
But they're like, yep, if you feel a certain type of super hard nodule on the prostate, that would be suspicious.
Damn. Yeah, that is. I think they really could if doctors would embrace that. It'd be so much more fun. You go, you kind of run on the treadmill, dead hang. They can talk to you a little bit about it. It just seems so kind of sterile.
Plank. Yeah, there's like a bunch of basic
awesome.
tests everybody should be able to. We should be able to see people do. I completely agree.
Yeah, I don't know, that's so. I did really like your book for that reason. Hopefully, that kind of stuff takes. So what is so if that's the scope of the book, where do you stand now? Has anything changed in that time? Or is there anything that's like latest and greatest that's kind of like blowing your mind right now?
I think my thinking is always evolving. I would say if I were writing that book today, I would actually kind of add a fifth horseman, which is anything that pertains to a weakened immune system. So I'm just getting over a cold because I have 3 kids and 2 of them are young. So basically, I'm always in the face of like some virus, right?
Yeah.
So twice a year, I always get some stupid cold, and it's no big deal. It starts in my throat, blah, blah, blah. It gets into my lungs. I hack up a bunch of junk and I'm fine. But, anyone who's been around older folks realizes that that's the kind of thing that can tip them over the edge when they're 80 years old.
Yeah.
A really bad infection, a flu, COVID, things that us, 50-year-olds laugh at can become deadly. And so from a research perspective, this is something I'm super interested in is how do we regenerate the immune system? So, I'm in my 50s. My immune system is also in its 50s. Would it be amazing if when I'm in my 80s, I could still have an immune system that's maybe like in my 50s or 40s? The effect that would have against, mitigating the risk of fatal pneumonias, infections, and even cancers is huge because the immune system is the first line of defense against cancer.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Is that it? Didn't they used to use like fevers for that too? They would induce fevers to try to kill certain types of cancer.
Yeah, and it wasn't very successful because it's so nonspecific.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, cancer is the only way for the immune system to eradicate cancer is you have to get the very, very, very specific T cell that recognizes exactly that cancer, and you have to figure out a way to make enough of them that it, wins that war. And that rarely happens spontaneously. I mean, the cases are, documented in the literature. They're so rare, but we now have drugs that can make that happen in about 10% of cases. Which is huge.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. So what's your research yielded? How do you think you can bolster the immune system or like?
I mean, it depends. I don't know how technical the audience wants to get into this stuff, but so stop me when this has become unbearable.
For sure.
So we have DNA.
Okay.
So everyone's heard of DNA. DNA is the code that tells every cell how to make a protein. So what tells DNA to turn on and off are something called methylations, little carbons that stick on the backbone, or something called the epigenome. So DNA is regulated through this methylation pattern. And as we age, that changes.
Gotcha.
So we can look at a T cell, which is the type of cell that fights a cancer or an infection, and we can say, that's what an old one looks like. That's what a new one looks like. Even though the DNA is the same, the epigenome above the genome, this methylation pattern looks different. And so the question is, what if we took the methylation pattern of an old T cell and made it look like a young T cell? Would it revert into a young T cell? So to me, that's certainly top 2 or 3 most interesting questions in aging research today.
That's pretty cool. And that makes sense because it's like the DNA, you're born with it, and then the epi layer, that's like the kind of like pattern that's affected through the environment.
That's what regulates it, exactly.
Yeah. And then so if you can kind of get into that. And then so you could, and it was stress too, because I noticed that was a big thing in your book. And you can stress yourself to the point where your epigenome will just start being like,
everything in the environment can affect that. So it's affected just naturally through aging. So the passage of time affects it, but so does anything in the environment. So whether you exercise, whether you smoke, whether you have diabetes or not, all of those things, good sleep, bad sleep, high stress, low stress, anything can tweak that in the right or wrong direction.
Damn. Okay. That's pretty cool. So
but the gravitational pull of age is huge. And that's the one I'm most interested in is like, how would you, because even the healthiest 80-year-old has nowhere near the immune system of an unhealthy 30-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah. And we saw that everyone was hoping against hope that Mike Tyson would just knock out Jake Paul, and that was kind of like a bitter moment for a lot of people.
Yeah, you can't like age is not like
just can't do it.
Yeah, as Father Time is undefeated, as everybody said.
Yeah, even with like the TRT, what are your thoughts on that? Like in terms of like what age to kind of smash the glass and just go full upgrade?
I don't know that there's an age I would do it. I mean, I think the things that I would, I had a long talk with a patient yesterday about this exact question, and he's pretty young. He's like 36. Does not have kids, but wants to have kids. Yeah. So that's a huge consideration. So in his situation, I would say like TRT is not a good idea. I suggested that he bank sperm. And if he wants to go down that rabbit hole, and by the way, I don't think he needs to, because I don't think his levels are like kind of 50th percentile. He's not terribly symptomatic. I would kind of eke out a bit more time, but I would rely on hormones that are going to ramp up his body's production of testosterone as opposed to just giving him testosterone, which will shut off his body's supply.
Forever?
No. And it's not something that happens overnight. Like
Gotcha.
He'd have to be on testosterone for a while before he would shut down his own production.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on that? On like that whole thing, especially for 30-year-olds? Do you think it's like good to kind of have that, or do you think it like should be kind of a long road?
I think you got to take every case individually, but if a 30-year-old has testosterone that is so low that it's impacting him, I think you have to start by asking why.
Right.
Like, how bad is his sleep? How bad is his stress? How bad is every other factor going on? I mean, when I finished, when I was, leaving my residency, my testosterone was 227, I think, which is insanely low. That's only 2.5 times higher than a woman.
What?
Yeah.
Is that why doctors' hands are so soft every time you shake them? Damn,
No,
that's crazy.
that's for the rectal exam. So you just don't get
That's true. That's true. You wouldn't want like my dad's.
No,
finger.
but the reason is pretty clear, right? Because I was sleeping 28 to 30 hours a week.
Damn.
Right. So, horrible sleep deprivation is going to make it really difficult to make appropriate levels of testosterone.
And that makes it harder for you to sleep too when your testosterone gets lower?
I think probably a little bit, but the causality is much more in the opposite direction, meaning the horrible sleep is destroying
I see.
the production of testosterone and growth hormone. But of course, at the time, it never occurred to me to do anything about it. And once I, was in a job where I could actually sleep each night, lo and behold, my testosterone kind of normalized.
It peaked up.
Yeah.
What do you think that's a good thing for people to actually look at? Because I always get the feeling that like if you even go into one of those places, they're going to hard sell you and you'll be on the tee like before you know it.
I think you should not go to. I'm trying to think of the right analogy. If you walk into a store that only sells hammers, everything's a nail.
Yeah.
Right. So I think if you walk into a tea shop and all they do is male hormone optimization, I would say buyer beware.
Yeah.
Because even if they internally have the best of intentions, like I just don't think they can get out of their own way.
Yeah.
I also think you should be very wary of going to a place for any sort of therapy where they're selling you the therapy.
True.
Like if my whole shtick is I'm here to, give you the best hormones or supplements or whatever, and oh, by the way, on your way out, we'll sell them to you. It's just such a conflict of interest.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
so what do you think about the internet companies that are like I did one. I don't know if it's nice to like name it or not, but like the ones that like you mail like stool sample, blood, saliva, and they're like, here's precision supplements for you and you alone. How do you think they're like? How much of that is kind of generic, and do you think some of those companies are really dialed in or like?
I don't doubt that there are ways to kind of sort of optimize supplements around biomarkers. I'm not sure that it's as precise as people want to believe. Yeah. I certainly don't think that. I actually think you can do a lot of supplement optimization off really basic blood work. Like I don't think, certainly, a stool sample is not necessary because most probiotics can't even provide the bacteria you need to impact it. I mean, Your diet has a far greater role. Your fiber content has a far greater role on your gut biome and things that you'd be measuring in stool. And obviously saliva, blood, urine can measure things that are relevant and interesting. There aren't that many things that I think are worth taking. Like I think, if you're low in vitamin D and you're not getting enough sunlight, that makes sense, but that's a pretty simple blood test. If your homocysteine is elevated, you probably should take some methylated B vitamins. And if you drop it by more than 5 or 6 points, you're probably doing a lot. If your omega levels are low, fish oil probably helps if you're not willing to eat 3 servings of fish a week.
Right.
But the true basics of this are really simple. And then there's other supplements that probably make sense for most people, and you don't even need to test for them. Like anybody who's active could probably justify taking creatine.
Yeah.
And there's no blood test that's going to tell you whether or not you need it. We just know that, to fill and saturate total body storage, you're going to need 3 to 5 grams per day. So,
Really? That was surprising. That was like something I heard like in college, like, years ago when I'd lift weights. It was like creatine was almost like viewed as like a serious kind of like bodybuilder supplement. Now everything I read is like, no, everyone needs a ton of creatine.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's just, if you're playing the game of optimizing, you're going to get a benefit, probably about a 10% boost in performance for intensity and like super short intensity, i.e. the creatine phosphate energy system. So kind of like high bursts of 10-second work, and then anaerobic stuff. It's not going to improve much aerobically, but and you'll also get a little hypertrophy benefit because the muscles will get bigger when they bring more water in.
That makes sense. Yeah, if like my kids are like 7 feet away and they're not listening, I could just fucking run at them.
Easy.
Like,
Easy.
Just hulk them down. Yeah, that's my thing with fitness. A lot of people, and I'm sure I don't know if you've heard this. You're kind of I'm sure your like listenership is very health oriented, but a lot of people get very like, I don't know, like very kind of scoffed. They kind of scoff a lot of this stuff where they're like, who gives a shit? And it's like, and I feel bad because like I do get it. If you're like in a job you hate and you're just totally crushed down by like your life circumstance, having somebody be like, dude, eat a banana and do jumping jacks, you're gonna be like, dude, fuck you. I don't want to think about this. But it also will make your life better. Like I always like whenever I lose sight of that, whenever I get too into my own like just stuff where I'm like, this isn't going well. I don't have time. If I just take like an hour, even a half an hour and just like run as fast as I can, it's like I feel like amazing.
Yeah.
And I always say that's like a nice dimension you can add to your life where it's like everyone's like, like I want to get better in my job, blah, blah, blah. It's like just adding that like time yourself running 100 meters and then try to get a better time next week. It gives you something you're kind of making progress in. And it also, you feel great as a result.
Yeah. I think this is where kind of social media really distorts reality. And the example you give is a great one, right? So if your health sucks and you're trying to figure out where you're going to find an extra 2 hours a week to do some form of self-care, the last thing you need is some idiot influencer telling you to spend more time in the sauna and cold plunging. Like I can promise you that is not the first, second, third, fourth, or fifth best use of your time if you only have 2 hours a week.
How would you break it down then?
If you've only got, I would start with let's do the absolute basics of blocking and tackling. So first thing I want to know is, are you getting at least 7 hours of sleep a night? Because if you're not getting at least 7 hours of sleep a night, it's going to be very difficult for you to do anything at your best.
So I don't want to interrupt you. My question with that is, say you are tracking your sleep and you only get like 43 hours of deep sleep every night, even though you go to bed at like a proper time. Does that matter as much of like REM versus deep sleep, or like?
I assume you mean 43 minutes, but
43 minutes.
Yeah.
I wish it's fucking 43 hours.
I only get 43 hours of deep sleep a year. I'm doing the math quickly. Oh god. I don't know. If a person says, I feel really well, and there are these, I link to them in the book. There are a whole bunch of surveys you can get for free that just have you do like, these are validated surveys that kind of go through daytime drowsiness and stuff like that. If you're in bed 7 to 7.5 hours a night, ideally 8, and your little sleep tracker says you're sleeping 7, but you're not happy with your stages, I wouldn't put a lot of stock into that unless you feel that there is a problem.
Got you.
But if you're like, no, I feel fine, and I fill out all the 2 surveys and they said I'm doing fine, ignore the data.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and stop wearing the tracker.
I know. I gotta stop.
Just done with the tracker. So
I was checking every day. I'm like, 43 fucking minutes.
Yeah. Like it just creates more anxiety.
It's just red. I see red numbers.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck.
I haven't used one of those in a longer time than I can remember.
Yeah.
So
so just do
then
the
the next bucket. Yeah. So then the next bucket I want to know is what's your physical activity level? So let's say this is a person who's got none. They're doing none. And they say, look, I've only got 2 extra hours. I'm putting that entire 2 hours into exercise. So I'm going to say, we're going to do 4 30-minute workouts a week. And, again, I'd have to know more about the person, but it could easily end up being, we're going to do 2 cardio sessions a week. We're going to do 2 strength sessions a week. One of those cardio sessions per week is going to be kind of aerobic base training where you're going at the same intensity the whole time. It's not that high. You can still sort of almost carry out a conversation. It's a little hard to talk, but you could. And then the other cardio session I would do, say 3 days off of that, would be more interval, kind of like what you were describing. So let's get on if you're at a gym and they have one of those air bikes, do something there, be on a treadmill, be outside. It doesn't really matter. Like the goal, this person will get so much benefit from 2 hours a week of exercise that it almost doesn't matter what they do. And then the other 2 days a week, I'd have them do 2 30-minute whole body workouts at a gym where they never stop moving.
Okay.
So if you're doing it at home, it might be push-ups, pull-ups, wall sits, something like that. If you're at the luxury of being at a gym, you might just rotate machine to machine to machine and never stop. And that would just bring huge dividends. And then the last thing I'd do is, in addition to that, is just do a quick audit of their diet.
Yeah.
Are you overweight? Are you adequate weight? Are you underweight? That determines whether you need to eat more or less. And then are you getting enough protein? And honestly, I wouldn't make it much more detailed than that. And so look, with just a little bit of that insight, you've made better use of 2 hours a week. You've got them to stop worrying about their sleep. You've maybe changed 3 little things in their diet. I promise you that person in 3 months is going to feel significantly better. And then maybe, by the way, at that point, they're like, you know what? I wouldn't mind doing 3 hours a week of this exercise thing because I'm feeling kind of good. And you know what? I kind of want to dial the diet in a little bit more. But again, the problem is too many people are consuming information that says, oh my God, you need to be on this supplement. You need to be on this supplement. You need to be doing 30 minutes of this type of sauna and 20 minutes of this type of cold plunge. And people are like, shut up.
Yeah, I don't I can't do that.
Yeah. I mean, and to be clear, I love sauna and I love cold plunge, but it is like the 20th thing on my list of 21 things that is a part of my routine.
Yeah, that makes sense, man. That's actually cool to hear because it is like the solution is pretty basic and simple, and that's the thing that gets me bummed out when because I do think we live, and I could just be wrong, but I feel like we live in a pretty nihilistic kind of age, and it's like it does suck when that spreads. It's like a physical nihilism. Like, what the fuck's the point of even? It's like, dude, you'll feel so much better if I don't work out. I get depressed. It's like A to B easily. If I don't do it for like 2 weeks, I'm just like depressed and sad, and it's like if you don't do it, it's just you feel terrible. And I always like to try to just get up and move your fucking body, man. There's so much. It's so much better.
We were meant to move.
We were.
And meant to be outside. That might be the other thing I would add is figure out a way to do something outdoors, like whether it's a quick walk or incorporate some of that exercise outdoors.
You know what I started doing? Skateboarding. At my ripe old age of 38, I started.
Just took it out.
I just took it back. I've been doing it when I was little, I just started it, and it's weird. That's a real eye opener when you take an activity you did in childhood effortlessly. And like, let me try this again at 38. Dude, I swear I burnt 900 something calories. I skateboarded for an hour and 20 minutes, and I was dying.
That's awesome.
Cardio wise, I was just doing like a little pump track where you kind of just like ride up on a wall. Dude, I thought I was gonna die. I used to do this all day when I was younger. Now I'm like, it's like a real eye opener to be like, all right, where am I at? Because I do feel like, especially, I guess men and maybe women do it too, but men specifically over index. Like, I'm good, and it's like try something that you did when you were younger, and you're like, holy shit, I'm gonna. My heart rate was at like 170 the whole time, just skateboarding. And I was barely pushing. I just had to like balance myself on this track. It was amazing though. I agree with you. It's like find something, to do and just kind of, I don't know. I feel like, I do feel like we get too tunnel visioned into like the career stuff. And it's like, you need to do that to survive. But it's like the sacrifice of hours of time for like the quote unquote rest time into like physical activity, just pay dividends and all the other things you're trying to do anyway. But
yeah,
I always sound like a broken record, but I'm like, dude, it's so important, man. It really is. So yeah, skateboarding's awesome. We should go one time. You skate?
Nope, I do not at all.
Have you ever?
Nope. And it's funny. I mean, growing up, I was certainly of that age when a lot of kids were skateboarding. I don't know why it just never appealed to me.
Yeah.
I was sort of busy in my own little world. My daughter did for a little bit. She's 16 now, but she did probably like when she was 12, 10, 11, 12, she was pretty into it. The coolest thing I've picked up recently, though it's not a physical activity, but I'm freaking obsessed with it, is chess.
Really?
Holy cow.
How are you pretty good?
No, I'm horrible. I mean,
I'm
just learning, but I love it. Like I can't stop playing. I just can't stop.
Who are you playing against?
I'm just playing my boys.
Really?
Literally, just the three of us.
Phone
just go back
chess
and forth.
or physical
on
chess?
the board.
That's good. Yeah.
Writing down every move, studying our moves after.
Really?
Like nerding out, watching YouTube videos. I'm obsessed with this guy, Magnus Carlsen, who's the best chess player in the world.
I've heard of him, actually, yeah.
Dude, I can't stop watching chess porn.
Really?
Can't stop.
That's awesome.
Can't stop.
That's awesome.
You know how YouTube figures out what you're about? Like
Yes.
my videographer for our podcast,
Mhm.
he pulls me aside like 3 weeks ago, goes, "Are you getting into chess?" And I'm like, "How do you know?" He goes, "Because like I'm managing our YouTube channel and like it only populates it's just like pushing chess stuff all day."
That's
And I was
awesome.
Like, yeah, dude, I can't stop.
It is good for your
I
brain.
stay up
though.
at night like watching chess videos.
Do
It's
you
awful.
really?
Oh, it's awful. I'm like, it's 9:30. I should go to bed.
What's your opening move? What do you go with?
Oh, I'm typically like E4. But I like to castle really early. So I'm going to try to castle within about within 4 or 5 moves if I'm doing a kingside castle.
Really?
Yeah.
I like the first move, the horse, just over your pawns. And be like, "What's up?"
Yeah.
It's called. There's a name for it. I forget what
There
it's called.
is,
It's like
yeah,
the English
yeah.
or something. But
Horse.
the horse. I fucking bang. Here's my motherfucking horse.
Yeah. No, the knight's cool because again, he can hop over people.
You
It's
move in
awesome.
that fucked up L-shaped pattern. But yeah, I love chess too. That is fun. I just say I don't have anyone to play it with. That's the thing. It's like it's how long does a chess game take?
One of my boys is super aggressive, so the games are quick because he just comes
Really?
out swinging.
Does he really?
Oh, he swings.
I like that.
He goes for the fences. And then the other one is so conservative and so thoughtful that the games take like so long. And I got us a little timer too. So I'm like, buddy,
That's
you have
nice. Yeah.
2 hours to make the first 40 moves or you're disqualified.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, you got to think on your feet.
And the younger one, the one who's super aggressive, is so competitive. Like if anyone in our family ever makes it and becomes like great, it's him. Because you can't the fire is insane.
Really?
When he loses, he tears up his sheets. And I'm like, buddy, you shake my hand and we had a good game. He's like, and he's just losing his mind that he lost a game of chess.
It's war. Yeah, it's war. Is it true that the possibilities on the chessboard are kind of infinite?
They
in a
are
way?
truly infinite.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a computationally infinite problem.
Damn.
Or as close to, I shouldn't say infinite, right? In that AI can,
Yeah.
but it's from a practical perspective, I think it's infinite.
Damn. That's awesome. That is cool. I'm going to try it. My kids are too young for that. Me and my daughter did one
Your
of those,
oldest is 6?
4.
Oh, 4. Okay.
4.
Yeah.
6 could be 6 is doable. 4
6 is totally doable.
I did chess. We did one of those big ones. We were on vacation. We did one of those those huge outdoor chess boards with the big pieces.
Yeah.
We did it, and I tried with my 4-year-old, and by the end of it, it was like the mommy and daddy, were, the queen and king were mommy and daddy, and the pawns are all of our babies. And I was like, all right, man, what the hell, this sucks. But yeah, man, that is amazing.
I once made the mistake of in a game, like one of my older one, the one who's more conservative, like he had a rook, knight, bishop in the back that hadn't moved, and it was like 25 moves in, and I'm like, buddy, those guys over there are standing there like they got their thumbs up their butts. And now those two boys cannot stop saying that. They just walk around anytime someone's not moving, why do you have your thumb up your butt? And my wife's like, why do you say this stuff to them? Like, you can't say anything like that. They're just going to say whatever you say.
I know. It's weird. It's weird because my 4-year-old is like language police in our house. She like will learn that something's bad, and then she's just like horrified of the idea of saying it. And she's like, if she hears us saying anything like we even say the word hate, I don't know. This wasn't a rule for us, but I hate that. She'll be like, don't say that. She like polices our language. If we say like that, my wife said freaking the other day. She's like, Mom, that's a bad word.
It's a bad word. Yeah.
Like, no, it's not. And she's like, and I was arguing. My wife's like, no, just give her that one. She's like, it's pretty nuts. But yeah, that is true. They do parrot everything. You really do got to watch what you say, because you can say whatever you want around them for the longest time, and eventually you're like, oh shit, you can talking shit on my neighbors. You can hear this. You can hear this right now.
Our youngest one, when this is the super aggressive one, so it's not surprising. I think when he was like 3. We get a call from the preschool, and they're like, yeah, you got to come and get him. My wife's like, what's going on? They're like, he said the F word.
Whoa.
My wife's like, oh, I'll be right there. But
they made you get him for that?
Yeah, I'm like, this is a misunderstanding. And my wife's like, first of all, the kid is obsessed with rhyming. So he almost assuredly was like, truck, fuck, or something like that. And the woman is like, no. He's actually the first kid we've ever heard use it properly.
Oh, no.
They're like, what was the situation? And they're like, well, he was in circle time, and we were telling all the kids they had to be quiet, and he wasn't being quiet. And we're like, hey, if you're not quiet, you're going to have to get up and leave. And he wouldn't be quiet. So we got up and made him leave, and he stood up apparently and just goes, fuck it. And then walked and got out of the corner.
Like, that's a coincidence.
Yeah. I'm like, I think he learned that from his mom.
Yeah, my daughter nailed she dropped something one time when she was really little, and she was like, shit. I was like, damn it. That was right on
That's
the money.
on me. Yeah.
I was like, that was right on the money. Yeah. So they made you, it was like a 1-day suspension?
Yeah, it was like he's on probation now. I mean, it was like, we ended up finding another preschool for him that he did great in.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's insane to like be like, you got to come get this kid.
Yeah.
Although that could spread like wildfire amongst other people.
Yeah, I guess I can see it from the point as well.
No, that's lame. That's crazy to be like, he must leave right now. But I think they got to let that kind of stuff go. That is tricky though, man, because especially at that age, it's like kids hit other kids, and like, some people are like, this is like, you can't. It's like, but I don't know. I treat it like the dog park. It's like, they'll figure it out, man. If it's really bad,
there's got to be enough discomfort in the situation for the kids to evolve.
Yeah, exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, because it's like, dude, they're going to do that, man. It's like, me and my cousin got separated, and we were in kindergarten together, and then we went to the same school the next year, and they were like, AM class, BM class, they can't be with each other at all. But I thought it turned out all right. So before you get out of here, because we're coming up on where are we at right now, Josh? I don't want to keep you too long. Huh? Perfect. The one thing that I feel like was in the book a lot, you talked about how, and again, always correct me if I'm wrong, because I always have stuff in my head. Stress was something was really on the back burner that you kind of put to kind of like the forefront of your thinking from like the day to day and a health perspective. Where do you kind of stand on that? And like, do you have any thoughts on that at all?
When I think about like, what is the thing that's going to kill me fastest? I think it's undoubtedly stress. I just think I think it's the most insidious killer in a way, because it's the hardest thing to measure directly. Mm-hmm. You can sort of measure some of its indirect actions, like on blood pressure and blood sugar, which both go in the wrong direction when stress is high. But I think there's even components of it that just, even when blood sugar and blood pressure are normal, I still think it's just doing something to your brain, probably, and to your heart. And again, I don't think anybody would feel good living in a zero stress environment. Mm-hmm. So it's mostly just about kind of managing how one responds to it. And I think it goes beyond just stress. I think it's sort of like just overall like satisfaction in life and contentment and, enjoying your relationships with people. I interviewed this guy on my podcast, Bill Perkins, who wrote this incredible book. It's one of my favorite books. It's called Die with Zero. Mm-hmm. And he writes about how you have basically you have time, you have money, and you have experiences. And he talks about through health. So health, time, and money.
Okay.
And you're not optimizing for the most of any one of those. You're optimizing for the net of fulfillment.
Okay.
So too many people miss that, right? They're just like working really, really hard to get as much money as possible or as much fame as possible. Or they're like maniacally focused on their health. That's the only thing they think about.
Right.
Or they're just trying to, live as long as possible or make as much time for certain things. But it's kind of like how you put all those things together to optimize around fulfillment. So in this book, he writes about this idea of like people aren't doing the equation correctly. They're deferring too many experiences when they're young to do when they're old, but then they don't realize when they're old, their health is actually, they're not actually able to do it when they have all the money in the world.
Yeah.
They can't go and take the incredible vacation, or if they can, their kids aren't with them or their kids aren't young. So I think it's just kind of reframed a lot in my mind and made me realize that, when our kids are young and we are incredibly healthy, that should be the time that we invest more in fulfillment and experiences as a family. Which has just been a completely different mindset for me from where I was most of my life.
Yeah. Just going kind of like full blast.
Yeah,
make
yeah,
as much money as possible.
Sleep when I'm dead. Kind of
that's
thing.
that's a big one. Sorry about that bug, dude. That bug won't leave you alone. It hasn't even come over to me at all.
I mean, I must stink.
Yeah, that is kind of a cool thing too, man. To because you don't really. It's also something you don't really learn. Like nobody really tells you how to manage your stress. You kind of mostly, from what I gather, you kind of just like watch your parents deal with stress, and you're like, all right, and you just kind of like take those patterns and just apply them to your life. And it's like it really does. Like, what I've been trying to do recently is like just take one day out of the week. Usually it's Sunday because like we're all off, everyone's hanging out, and I just try to focus on like being as calm and at ease. That's like top priority of my day. Usually it's like I gotta get this done, I gotta this done, and like on one day a week I'll be like, I'm only focused today. My number one goal is to try to like stay in a state of like ease and kind of contentment. And if I get out of it, I like before I'm like, well, I just try to zero in on that. And that's been kind of like, for me, that's been like a bit of a revelation to be like, oh, I can move through like multiple days without completely spinning myself the fuck out. And it's been, I don't know, it's been kind of nice.
And what do you think spins you out? Is it just busy? It's too much?
Yeah, it's
or
too
is there
much.
a particular thing?
Yeah, I mean, it could be anything. It could be my kids not listening, kind of spins me out. If I'm like trying to get up the steps and it takes 40 minutes and I'm kind of like, all right, let's go. Could be anything. Could be like overwhelmed, like just like situations at work I got to deal with that are just completely overwhelming. Stuff in the house, it's just like lack of sleep. Our kids are still so little that like our sleep gets fucked up. But yeah, it is. It's usually like relational stress or just like work stuff. Those are the two main things that kind of like can really spin me out.
And I would argue that most work stress is relational as well. So I kind of agree. I think relationships are both the best part of life and the most stressful part of life.
Yeah, I agree. So that's been my.
That's what's going on here, by the way. A lot of relational stress in that film. I can tell you right now.
That is true. But yeah, that's kind of the thing, man. It's like, well, this is my whole point is like, you do have some say in how much a thing can like everything can floor you. Things come out of nowhere and you're like, you get caught in it, but just learning how to be like, all right, something got me. It's like laser tag. Like my thing's beeping. I can kind of walk myself through this without like going on like a Godzilla path. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know. That's been pretty helpful for me before I get caught. That's my ultimate fate. She's like, babe, I'm having a naked picnic with a prostitute. She's right there and they're coming out of the water just hawking me.
It's not what it looks like.
But yeah, that is the number one, man. It's like, dude, it's like managing stress, keeping yourself physically fit because you can't like otherwise like what the fuck are we doing, man? It's like, it's like unless you, I mean, some people are just surviving, which is kind of that sucks. But I don't know. I feel like people there's other countries where people are just surviving, but they still do cool stuff. They have like big ornate jugs of water and they carry it around. They like dance and stuff. I don't know. It's kind of sick. I'm just trying to make people happy. I don't know how to do it. Well, dude, I mean, is there anything else that's kicking in your mind?
I don't think so.
Well, I think you did it. Thank you for coming and doing this. I apologize for the strange format, but how do you feel about standing in podcasting?
I think it's hilarious. I think it is. This is the first standing podcast I've ever done.
Bro, it's not bad. How do you feel about it, honestly? You can hurt my feelings. If you
honestly,
don't like
I think I have better posture than I normally do.
That's what I'm saying. When you're sitting on a podcast, you're kind of like slouching forward.
Yeah.
Standing keeps you on your feet. It keeps the mind sharper.
Like, I feel like we're doing a political debate the way they're angled at each other too. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I need a moderator to ask me a question. That's the only thing that it would have been a little better if it was moderated. If this discussion was moderated.
That's a good
and more heated.
That's true. Yeah. That is true. I want to work on being.
I wouldn't mind a teleprompter next time if you wouldn't mind.
Teleprompter is nice.
So I want a teleprompter there, moderator there.